Thank you all for coming. Rob Bonta, California Attorney General. At the outset, let me just say forgive me for my dress today. I, over the weekend, toured and surveyed and got a briefing on the damage in Altadena from the Eaton fire, and I'm doing the same today for the Palisades fire. So after this, I'll be heading out to evacuation site, the location of the fire in Palisades, and get a briefing as well. First and foremost, I want to say to everyone who has lost loved ones, who's lost a home, who's been injured, who's been evacuated, who has been impacted in any way by these devastating fires, you have my sympathies. You have the support of my office, of me, and we have been doing and we will continue to do everything in our power to support you and help you on the road to recovery and healing, rebuilding, and this hits close to home. As a fellow Californian, of course, but also someone who has called Los Angeles home in the past, who has a daughter who goes to college in Los Angeles County, and someone who leads an incredible agency that I'm very proud and honored to lead, that include members of my team who have lost everything, who have lost their homes, who have been evacuated, who are being impacted. And so I know the trauma and the tragedy that families are reeling from and suffering from and feeling goes across Southern California. And so many are facing the unfathomable. So you have my support, you have my sympathies. Those impacted by this terrible disaster should be focused on healing, on recovering, on rebuilding, on caring for their loved ones, and nothing else. That is what they should entirely be focused on. Unfortunately, that is not the case. Folks across the region are being preyed upon by greedy businesses and landlords, scam artists, and predatory buyers looking to make a quick buck off their pain. They are seeking to re-victimize the victims of the fires, to exploit them in their vulnerable state. They are looking, these predators are looking at the disaster with dollar signs in their eyes instead of kindness in their hearts. And that is unconscionable. It is despicable. It is disgusting. It is sick. And it's unacceptable. And most importantly, it is illegal. That conduct, that predatory conduct, is unlawful. So let me be crystal clear. I take these crimes exceedingly seriously, and we will hold you to account. Be it landlords, short-term rentals, or hotels, price gouging evacuees, or predatory buyers swooping in with low-ball property offers, whether it be scams or looting, you can be sure we will hold you accountable. We're on the case, and we will prosecute where laws have been broken. Don't think we're bluffing and try to call it. You will regret it. You can't exploit victims and break the law for the sake of turning a profit and get away with it. There will be consequences. My team at California DOJ, along with the Governor's Office, the Office of Emergency Services, CAL FIRE, the legislature, Mayor Bass, city and county leaders, law enforcement, and first responders, we're all working together to support and protect impacted families and businesses across the area. The price gouging that we're seeing and hearing about so often, so frequently, so many egregious examples, needs to stop now. Price gouging is a crime, plain and simple. It is unlawful. It is punishable by a year in prison, by a $10,000 criminal fine per instance. It's wrong, it's immoral, and again, it's illegal and needs to stop. some say, well, there's a higher demand, and we can charge these prices based on these higher prices based on the increased demand. Well, demand be damned. You must follow the law. And the law does not allow you to increase prices more than 10% from before the declaration of emergency. You cannot jack up prices and take advantage of disaster victims, plain and simple. California law prohibits a business from increasing the price of a good or service more than 10% more than they charged before the emergency. And to be clear, that includes housing, rentals, hotels, construction supplies and services, gas, water, emergency supplies. It's all set forth in Penal Code 396. In a case where a business only began selling the item after the emergency declaration, they cannot charge more than 50% greater than the cost of the item. And I want to just be clear about this. There is increased demand because people have lost their homes and they're looking for a place to stay. They've been suffering from perhaps the worst tragedy they'll ever face in their lives. And they deserve support, they deserve compassion, they deserve services and resources, they deserve their community to wrap their arms around them, not predators to take advantage of them. And so across Southern California, be it LA County, Ventura, San Bernardino, Riverside, Orange, in any California county where there is increased consumer demand as a result of the declared emergency, price gouging laws are in effect, and you cannot exceed that 10% cap. Since the governor declared a state of emergency on January 7th, DOJ has received hundreds of reports of price gouging. On top of that, we've been sent complaints from our partner agencies. We've seen many posted online and in the media, and we've identified reports through other means. Just yesterday, the LA Times published a story about the very real spike in rent gouging happening in our cities. A two-bedroom rental that jumped from $5,000 to $8,000, clearly violating the price gouging prohibitions and laws. A single-family home in Venice that jumped nearly 60%, far over that 10% cap. A five-bedroom home in Santa Monica was listed $15,000 above what they asked last year. A real estate agent even spoke about a client who brazenly ordered her to increase rent above price gouging limits because the demand was too good to pass up and because they doubt there will be prosecution. That client is so very wrong. Today, I'm announcing that DOJ has opened multiple active investigations into price gouging reports, and we will prosecute any crimes we find. We have redistributed and deployed and moved our resources into LA to tackle the price gouging that we're seeing. We have boots on the ground, conducting investigations as we speak, building the criminal cases against price gougers. And we will continue to pursue those cases and others and prosecute to the full extent of the law. We're moving with urgency. I've created a new DOJ Disaster Relief Task Force that is dedicated to uncovering and investigating and prosecuting price gouging and other crimes targeting disaster victims without delay. Attorneys and investigators and staff from our Consumer Protection Section, our Special Prosecution Section, our cybercrime team, our Public Inquiry Unit are working around the clock in partnership with our Division of Law Enforcement. We're doing everything we can to protect Californians who are looking for a safe place to evacuate, looking to rebuild, looking to care for their terrified kids in the most basic ways: a clean bed, a warm bath, a safe place to spend the night. In fact, we've already had instances where landlords and businesses have reduced their prices in accordance with the law after we got involved, and they knew we were looking. We've been engaged and will continue to engage with housing and short-term rental platforms, including Airbnb. We're pleased that Airbnb is now blocking listing price increases over 10% in the impacted areas and is displaying the consumer alert my team put out to all hosts in LA and Ventura County. So they are refusing to post price gouging on their platform. The company's taken steps to ensure their hosts comply with the law. And frankly, they're doing the right thing. I thank them for doing that. We hope other platforms will follow suit and do the same. There's no doubt that short-term rentals are one critical housing resource amidst this emergency. What they're not and can't be is a get-rich-quick scheme. To that end, I also want to thank the governor for the executive order he issued yesterday that will jumpstart cleanup and rebuilding and fast-track temporary housing for those who were displaced. In addition to those investigations and actions, my team sent letters to trade associations and short and long-term rentals, as well as hotel chains, reminding them of price gouging rules, and in some instances requesting more information. I urge recipients of the letters to heed our warnings and comply with our request. We'd much rather work with businesses that than have to go after them or the businesses using their platforms. Finally, we know many businesses use algorithms to track and alter the price of housing and hotel costs. I'd remind businesses that an algorithm is not an excuse to break the law. Algorithm or not, you're still responsible for price gouging on your platforms and complying with the law. Consider turning off the algorithm or closely monitoring your prices so you don't find us knocking on your door. I can't stress this enough. We, at the California DOJ, we cannot respond to crimes we don't know about. So please, if you or someone you know has experienced price gouging, report it immediately to my office at oag.ca.gov/LA-Fires. We have created a new website specifically to provide resources and support and pursue prosecutions related to the LA fires. You can also call us at our hotline, 800-952-5225, 800-952-5225. Even if you've already paid, even if you decided not to buy a good or service because of the price being too high, if you have seen or you've experienced price gouging, we want to hear from you. So please reach out to us. As I said, our mere involvement is often enough to get a business to comply with the law. To help expedite your complaint, we have some brief tips for reporting to ensure our team has as much of the information as they need up front, and these visuals here also help capture what we're looking for that can help us advance our investigation leading to potential prosecution. First, bring us the receipts. Email conversations, text messages, DMs, voicemails, screenshots of rental listings and hotel charges, call records, all super helpful as we build our case. Anything that shows what prices you were offered, when, and by who. If you're on a site like Zillow, you can also send screenshots of the price history and a link to the listing. Second, give us the details. First and last names of the realtors, listing agents, or business owners you spoke to, phone numbers, email addresses, home and business addresses, websites, social media accounts. Any information that can help us find and contact the business or the landlord. The more information we get up front means the fewer questions we'll have to ask later. Price gouging is just one crime to look out for, unfortunately. Predatory buyers, scams and frauds, and looting are others. Predatory buyers prey on scared and grieving communities who've watched homes, businesses, and neighborhoods go up in flames. These buyers swoop in with unsolicited offers to purchase property in the fire-affected areas for low-ball offers. On Tuesday, Governor Newsom issued an executive order that prohibits these types of unsolicited property offers, giving property owners some breathing room and protection as they recover from these fires. I appreciate the governor's quick and aggressive action to protect families and have told him that DOJ stands ready and willing to investigate predatory buyers who violate this order and hold them to account. Again, if you are targeted by predatory unsolicited offers on your property, let us know. Californians should also be on the lookout for scam artists who've been known to see an emergency like this as an open door, as an opportunity. Be on the lookout for fake organizations masquerading as charities and scammers who use crowdfunding sites to falsely claim that they're raising funds for victims. These types of scams have been known to target unsuspecting and well-meaning individuals, including seniors or immigrants, and those who don't speak English as their first language. Some even create fraudulent organizations with names that sound eerily legitimate and are easy to fall for, like American Red Cross of California, a now defunct organization DOJ ordered to cease and desist back in 2019 for misleading donors. They were trying to ride on the coattails and good name of the actual Red Cross that we know. Scams come in many forms. They're often creative, confusing, and persuasive. They can come by text or phone calls, emails, social media, and crowdfunding sites, or in person. These are a few scams in particular to be wary of during the natural disaster where homes are destroyed and people are displaced. The first is a contractor scam where a contractor will try to promise you he'll get your house rebuilt first and fastest, and in exchange for that promise, he'll ask, or the contractor will ask for a significant upfront deposit. Be wary of requests for upfront payments before you've received any services. There are also insurance adjuster scams where there is a demand for payment before filing a claim. I also call it the government services scam, where someone will ask to be paid to help you access and connect to free government services. A few ways you can stay vigilant: verify credentials, like checking licenses and certifications and reviews. You can also verify contractors at the Contractor State Licensing Board. You can verify adjusters at the Department of Insurance. Be skeptical of demands for upfront payments. As I mentioned, confirm authenticity through official channels. Go to official websites to confirm the person or entity that you're working with is actually official. Of course, monitor your bank accounts, report fraud immediately. Finally, we're seeing reports of looting. There's no way around it. Looting is wrong. It's dangerous. It's illegal. And it's an additional crime on top of the theft. California DOJ will not stand for looting. Looting hurts the people and businesses who already are hurting. It destroys property. It interferes with first responders trying to do life-saving work, and it siphons off resources that should be used elsewhere. To anyone who would go out and take advantage of this tragedy for greedy gain, to businesses and landlords engaging in price gouging, to predatory buyers preying on vulnerable homeowners, to those scamming and defrauding others, to those looting our homes and our businesses, I say this: you will be held accountable. Everything I've discussed today can be found on our new website, as I mentioned, oag.ca.gov/LA-Fires. It's a one-stop shop for all the resources you need from our office. Before I open it up to questions, I just want to say thank you to all of the brave firefighters, law enforcement, and first responders who've been working 24/7 for more than a week, putting their own lives on the line to save their fellow Californians. We cannot thank you enough. To all Southern California residents, please continue to monitor official alerts, red flag warnings, and evacuation orders. When you get the order to evacuate, please respond and act immediately. And I know we are all connected to our homes and the things in it, as I am, but most everything in your home is replaceable, but you are not, your family is not, your loved ones are not. Californians are resilient, we are strong, especially when we stand united. So that's what we ought to be doing now, and what I'm committed to doing now and through the healing process. We'll get through this. We will recover together. We will rebuild together. We will heal together. Please know that my team at DOJ and I are here to support you throughout this devastating time. We're at your service for whatever you might need. With that, I'm happy to take any questions. What do you mean the city, the state, or the county?
Because the governor declared a state of emergency, the county has, I believe, and city. So you talked about the state of emergency. I'm just curious what your jurisdiction, I guess, looks like.
Yeah, any and all legitimate declarations of emergency apply, and the price gouging laws apply to each of them. So if there is a difference in timing, and January 7th is sort of the major day around which the declarations of emergency were declared. But if you need to get specific around the time, they all have effect. It's not one that trumps the other. We've been mostly looking at the governor's declaration of emergency in Ventura County and LA County on January 7th, and so we're essentially looking at prices before January 7th, prices after January 7th, comparing them, doing a side-by-side, and making sure that the prices after January 7th do not exceed that 10% cap.
Is this crime a misdemeanor or no?
It's a misdemeanor, punishable by up to a year in jail and a $10,000 criminal penalty per violation. So if there's multiple violations, you can stack penalties potentially. And there's also civil liability up to $2,500 per violation for price gouging.
Is that enough?
Right now we need to be using the full extent of the law, punishing people to the fullest extent. This is just unimaginable conduct during this time when people need the exact opposite of being preyed on, exploited, victimized. They need support and healing and help. I know that there's some consideration of the penalties involved. I think that's an appropriate discussion to have. I think it's also important to make sure that folks are held accountable every time they commit a crime, every time there's price gouging, every time there's looting. We need to hold folks accountable, and that's what we're focused on, that accountability. Yes?
Is there any more that can be done about corporate predatory buyers who have, even in the past, been found to contribute to the housing shortage because they turn those units into short-term vacation rentals, and they're taking the housing stock out of what's available to the community?
Yeah, the governor's executive order yesterday or recently that prevented these unsolicited, lowball, undervalued offers certainly, I think, addresses some of what you're saying. Those making the offers, likely people with capital, trying to get a fire sale deal, a good deal, and on a home when someone is desperate and vulnerable, and may use it. The idea is profit making, so could likely use it to put on the short-term market instead of putting another person in a home. It's an ongoing discussion more broadly around homes that are vacant, homes that are for short-term rentals, as opposed to long-term residences for families and for Californians, and I know we're going to have continued policy debate about that. Hi.
Just to clarify, the governor extended the price gouging protections until March. Does that extension for the price gouging protection apply only to LA County or neighboring counties as well?
The governor's initial emergency declaration applied to both LA County and Ventura County. His extension applied to LA County. So there's some asymmetry there. But I do want to say this. The price gouging rules of Penal Code 396 apply anywhere in the state of California where there is increased demand because of the disaster. So if someone leaves LA County and goes to Santa Barbara County seeking housing because they've been evacuated or displaced because of the fires in LA County, even though there's no declaration of emergency specifically related to Santa Barbara, the price gouging protections protect that individual who's trying to find housing in Santa Barbara County. Thank you.
You said you had multiple investigations. Can you put a number on it?
No, because they're evolving, and there's many. Over 10, with more coming in every day, and it's dynamic. And we are developing the criminal case. We need to have evidence that's admissible. We need to have victim statements. So we're making sure we cross all the I's, cross all the T's, dot all the I's, make sure we have a case where we can meet our burden of proof, which is very high, of beyond a reasonable doubt on a criminal case. But it's dynamic. From my last discussion with my team before I walked out here, there likely is even more because we're getting so many reports, and we're deploying so many assets to do the investigations. Thank you.
Apologies for the repeated blush. Donald Trump comes in office next month. He's promised mass deportations of undocumented immigrants. What would be your message to those who are in California, mainly nationality, or Filipino Americans? What's your message to them?
My message to our immigrant communities in the state of California is we have the most immigrants in the nation. Our immigrants have made California great, made us strong, helped drive our economy forward, brought ingenuity and innovation to our state, and we support our immigrants in California. And we also support the rule of law in California, and including a president who follows the law. Under Trump 1.0, the president had a proclivity to break the law consistently and regularly. He wanted to do what he wanted, when he wanted, how he wanted. We took him to court over 100 times. We won a vast majority of those times. So we have been thinking about our immigrant communities for months, about the attacks that could come under a Trump administration 2.0, and preparing to hold the Trump administration and Mr. Trump accountable for any violations of the law. Some of the things that he said he will do will break the law, like ending birthright citizenship through an executive order. You cannot do that. It's a constitutional right. Or militarizing the National Guard, or calling in the National Guard, or bringing the military for mass deportations. So we value our immigrants. We have the most immigrants in the nation. Immigrants have helped us become the 5th largest economy in the world and drive our economy forward, and we will continue to ensure that the Trump administration does not violate the law as it seeks to target and attack our immigrant communities here in California.
Well, on that note, is there anything else Monday with Trump taking office that concerns you as a top law enforcement officer in the state of California? With regards to the fires, I mean, that's a particularly vulnerable time for Southern California. Does the Trump administration present, is it a good or a bad thing for Southern California, in your opinion?
You know, I expect any president, including Mr. Trump, when he takes office on Monday, to follow the time-honored tradition in the United States of the federal government assisting states who are wrestling with and confronting and suffering from natural disasters. President Biden did that when he provided aid swiftly and decisively to Florida and to Texas when they were facing horrific hurricanes. He didn't ask if they were a red state or a blue state, and if they were a red state, which they both are, condition funding or withhold funding. So I fully expect Mr. Trump to provide aid, federal aid to California because of the Southern California fires. There's a whole number of actions, potential actions that he might take on day one based on what he said, his inner circle has said, Project 2025 says. I referenced a couple of those around militarization, or calling in National Guard for mass deportations, or ending birthright citizenship. There's some when it comes to reproductive freedom as well, like trying to weaponize the Comstock Act to prevent the mailing of abortion medication, which is fully legal. You could take a difference of opinion from the Biden ATF on ghost guns and not regulate them as the guns that they are. You could take action on diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, or launch attacks on the LGBTQ+ community. There's a whole range of things he might do on day one. And our view is we will only act if he does something unlawful. That's our North Star, the rule of law. If he follows the law, is a law-abiding president, which shouldn't be too much to ask, we will have absolutely nothing to do. If he violates the Constitution, exceeds his jurisdiction, otherwise violates federal law or other governing law, we'll have a lot to do. So what we do is entirely based on him. But those are some possibilities of what you might see on day one.